So when you are invited to an Advance2000 cloud infrastructure, you will get a link and sign-in credentials. You log into your domain here with the credentials that you receive from whoever is inviting you. You click login. This is your professional desktop. This is the desktop in the data center in the cloud. So you double click on that, it connects. And then it is set for me here right now to take over my entire screen, which, as you can see, I can actually undo and make this just one window in order to demonstrate a few things here. So the system is set up that it will adjust, this window will adjust to whatever size you crop it to. And if I'm simply working as normal, I have it take over both my monitors, and that's the end of it. I have here, for demonstration reason, a second desktop that has similar credentials that I want to use to show you a few things. So I'm logging into two separate virtual desktops. I'm connecting to it. It will take over both my monitors again. Then I can make that a little smaller again, and we have, for show reasons, for the show and tell, two separate users, basically. Two separate desktops, two separate users, two separate, entirely separate backgrounds here to demonstrate that. So we have two different desktops here for two different users, right? I'm just basically pretending to be two different people in the virtual desktop environment. And as you can see, we have a shared drive here. We put a bunch of files in here, my apartment. And on both desktops, just like any other, shared drive, whatever I'm doing here, if I just, double those up, those files, make a copy, you see that my other user sees those right away because they're on the shared network drive. On the other hand, if I'm on my desktop here, or my virtual desktop here on the left, the climber at Yosemite, if I put a bunch of files onto my desktop here, on the left side, the climber in Yosemite and the beach-going person somewhere in the Caribbean, I suppose, have their separate desktops. And as you could see, this was all really quick because it's all local speeds. The connection is happening. The desktop and the network shared drive are all in the same data center, so the data transfer between them is incredibly fast. And the only traffic, the only data that gets transferred between the data center and my location here is images and keystrokes going over the internet, similar to any streaming video. So with these two desktops, as we said, these can be accessed anytime, anywhere. So I can access them from my telephone, from my iPad, from any laptop. And just for demonstration reasons, one thing that I want to show everybody is how this actually works off of an internet connection, or through a browser, rather through the browser. These two desktops are currently shown through the client software. Now, if I go to the browser interface, it's asking me once more for my credentials. So I'm demo 431.
And so while you're doing that, I guess the importance of this is being able to demonstrate how we're able to, from whatever device it happens to be, and obviously from wherever we happen to be, you being in your apartment in Manhattan, and myself being here in New Jersey, and JT out in Chicago, and we're all able to open up from whatever device we want, whenever we want. And that type of thing has even become more and more important in today's world. So whether it's through a browser or through a virtual desktop like you've been doing, that shows some of the agility that this brings to you.
Yeah, and you will now see, I log into that particular desktop through my browser, and lo and behold, that desktop closes down because I can only access it from one spot, right? You don't want two people using the same credentials. That would be a little bit chaotic. So that is all nice and square. And if you just, for demonstration reasons, let's have a look at, whatever my famous last words that I have, live sitting here on my virtual desktop. If I go home tonight, and tomorrow I'm on an airplane, I forgot my laptop and I'm looking at it from my telephone. Well, guess what? I close this down. I open this up again. That is my account. So I log in, and there we go. Oops, it takes over my entire screen. We knew that. And more than that, my desktop, my working surface where I do my work every single day is still the same as I left it last night with my favorite last words. So I don't have the trouble that I have with a VPN connection, that I have to go to the office every now and again and restart the computer, or something is not working out there. This is available anytime from anywhere, right at the spot where I left it last time.
And to boot, while you were making all this, moving from one place to the other, or the evening went by, everything was backed up and saved. And it's replicated amongst multiple data centers. So you don't have to ever worry about any type of data loss or not being able to get to your virtual desktop, no matter when you are happen to be working or where you're working.
So let's have a look at some basic Revit functionality here. Open up Revit, loads up just as, normal on any given desktop. And we'll show you now how that works with SNCDA in New Jersey. So I open my file, I browse, to my central file here, create a new local. I open that up. This one happens to be my apartment from when we renovated this a couple of years ago. And none of my shortcuts work. So here it is, my apartment, tiny little 450 square feet somewhere in Manhattan. I can do this, obviously. I can, take some of this, delete it. That shelf never came to be. So we can delete that out and synchronize that back to the central file. And then we can turn that over to SNCDA, who can show you what this one looks like once she opens it up. Cinta, you want to share your screen now?
Yeah.
So Andre, let me ask you, while Cinta opens up her screen, how's the performance for you? Now you've got Revit opened up on your virtual desktop, where you are in Manhattan, New York, and the virtual desktop is residing in Buffalo, New York. What's the performance like for you?
The performance is absolutely magnificent. It's local speeds, right? So our central files are sitting in a data center in Buffalo. Our desktops, where the actual processing takes place, are sitting in the same data center in Buffalo. So the processing speeds are absolutely great. Data transfers, file transfers, copying, a 250 megabyte file from Revit from one spot to another, or large image files, movie files, is incredibly quick.
So let me ask you, since you've been using the Advance2000 platform in your role at CGL for several years now, you've also used it in other places than just Manhattan. Maybe tell us quickly, I know you've been to Mexico and other places like that where you've gotten on your virtual desktop. How do you find it when you're working in those other areas?
It's just the same. I've worked in it from Mexico on vacation. I'm gonna work from it in Mexico on vacation again next February. I've used it from Germany. Actually, on Christmas vacation, I had forgotten to fill in my timesheet. So I actually pulled up my virtual desktop on my telephone, filled out my timesheet, and submitted my timesheet. Now, granted, a U.S. telephone carrier in Germany on a train between Hamburg and Berlin did not have the fastest internet connection. So the frame rate was a little bit slow, but that was just a matter of the internet connection on the telephone. It was like a 3G connection that I had.
Right, but given the circumstances,
other than that, it worked perfectly. I can connect from any place, and I have connected from any place. I've connected to it through my telephone, actually, here in the US, when I was actually also on the train between Manhattan and Philadelphia. Used my telephone, 4G, 3 bars, my telephone as a hotspot, and that was totally sufficient to do work on my laptop, and via my laptop, my virtual desktop.
So when we say that we're able to create a work environment, a high-performing work environment where you're able to run any type of software that you would use in your normal business, no matter how resource intensive it is, from anywhere, on any device, at any time, that's all very accurate to say. And obviously we're showing it right now in real time. So that's the experience that you've been able to get out of this.
Yes, we have. I mean, to be honest here, I'm president of the Revit User Group, and as such, we pride ourselves in the fact that we are independent and we are not a sales pitch platform. My company started using A2K about 5-6 years ago. After about 4 or 5 years, we saw that the rendering programs were starting to run slow. The latest Enscape, the latest Lumion, were starting to hit the limit of the graphics card that we had installed 5 years prior. But that's 5-year-old technology. So we went back to A2K. We looked at the system. We upgraded the parts that needed upgrading. And now we're back up and running. The new system has been up, I think, a year and a half or 2 years by now, and we're happy. Our renderers are happy. Our Revit production folks are happy. All is good.
I mean, right now you're working off a virtual desktop that has, I believe, 32 gigs of RAM. It's running an 8 gig RTX, NVIDIA graphics board. and at least 4 core, if I'm not mistaken, and you're getting every bit of that performance on any device of your choosing. So that's great. We're going to go over here to Sigda. How are you doing here? Can you share your screen and show some of the stuff that Andre was able to save for you?
Sure. Okay. Do you guys see my screen?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So here's the model that Andre was working on, and I have it open now in my screen.
So once you're in there, you zoom in. Clearly, we see, my apartment, and if you were to delete that door, maybe both, yeah, you place that request. That's normal behavior. Now, what you guys cannot see is I'm getting that request right here, obviously. I grant Snigdha that editing request. There it is, been granted. You can cancel that. Go by and open that, delete that door, and synchronize that back to the central file. Now, if Snigdha now stops sharing, and I share my screen again, everything is still what I was seeing before. I synchronize, and both doors disappear real quick because all of this is on the same network. Now, one of the great things about this is why I like having this system as a cloud system over having all the other cloud systems. We do use all of the other cloud systems, the Bluebeams and the Adobes and the BIM 360s and all of those other items, Teams and whatnot. It fully integrates with it. This is just a normal Windows environment that is able to integrate with all the other systems. If we collaborate with people outside of our office, we use every avenue available, depending on what the team is demanding, depending on the size of the job and the sophistication of our partners on each particular project. And every now and again, when we have sophisticated partners, like Snigdha, for instance, we have actually invited other companies into our private cloud, into our A2K environment. So that for us eliminated the need for all of the other collaborative cloud software, where it takes quite a while to drag large files from the cloud to your desktop every time you want to edit it, right? Be that 360 or SharePoint or ShareFile or Bluebeam Studio. It takes some time at every load, at every save. This system is all bound together in one data center. So at every save, at every download, upload, time is not a question. There is no save as, sending it over, prepping files to share. It's all in one environment.
I think it's worth mentioning that you're able to do this also very securely. You don't have to have your IT department to get in there and open up potential holes in your network to allow third-party consultants or people that you're partnering with a project on to be able to do that. Those types of things are normally going to take time. There are a security hole. This allows you to be able to bring people in when you need to very quickly in a very secure fashion, correct? Yep.
So what we did at that point, we basically created a project folder, right? It's called this limited project, right? And, we simply said, went into the properties, managed the security, limited or enabled this one folder for our partner architects who came into this one project, while the rest of the drive was off limits to them. They could see, yeah, there's a project, but they couldn't access it. And that was something that you don't have to have a sophisticated IT professional open up channels and IP addresses. It was as simple as, locking 5 folders and opening 1 folder. So that was actually really, really excellent experience on the integration part to work with that partner. Which also, and that's why we have Snigdha here today to demonstrate this a little bit on the construction management side. Some of us have, I'm sure some of the folks in the audience have worked in co-located offices. We, as an office, we've just opened a 450,000 square foot courthouse in Portland, Oregon, where we had co-located offices. The client, all the engineers, our partner architect were all physically in the same office. We had 3-4 people flying back and forth to Portland. It was like one person at a time was there, and they just traded places, so to speak, over there. And while we had a couple of our leaders travel back and forth, the other dozen and a half production people were all in this cloud working from 5 different locations. We had Sacramento, Lexington, New York, Miami, and Mexico City, actually. So all of that worked really smoothly, and we are currently considering doing this on more projects where we get into the same cloud, into the same workspace with the virtual co-located office, so to speak, with the CMs and the main engineers in order to speed this up. Just why I'm excited that Snigdha is here from the CM side.
I think you're on mute, Adam.
You're on mute.
How about that, the IT guy? Andre, without putting words in your mouth, would it be safe to say that, over the last 5 years that you've been doing this, it definitely changed the way that your workflow is, and your ability to be able to bring in people from other areas, other parts of the country, the world, to be involved in your projects, but even more so in the last 8 months. Maybe just a real quick moment here on how the pandemic and the stay-at-home orders that happened way back in March, and now the stay-at-home orders that we're seeing roll out across the country and the world, how that affects CGL or maybe does not affect CGL.
It does not affect our production. We used to have, as I just said, we have 5 offices, right? With each somewhere between 5 and 12 people. Overall, I think we're 60, 65 people in our company. We used to be 65 in 5 offices. Now we're 65 people in 65 offices. And it doesn't matter because each office has an internet connection. Each home has an internet connection. So everybody's, kitchen, living room, bedroom, alcove becomes our next satellite office. I'm in the Upper West Side office. Dominica, colleagues in our Brooklyn office, and our principal is in our New Jersey office now, so to speak. So what happened for us in mid-March, when we had when we started working from home, I grabbed 2 big monitors, dragged them, got into a cab, dragged them from the office to my home because my laptop was just too small to screen, and that was it. Other than that, I am as connected to my project and my colleagues as I've ever been. Obviously, yes, the personal interconnection, that office mentality that the human part of what we do okay. But that's got nothing to do with the system. For us, the system was a godsend simply because we didn't skip a beat. We went home on Friday with 2 monitors, and on Monday morning, we're still at the same desktop that you're seeing right now here. I opened it up and it was looking just the same, and I had just the same functionality. And from that point of view, nothing has changed.
And it could have been that Friday afternoon. You didn't even have to wait till Monday morning for that to happen. So
I took my weekend, man. I took my weekend.
You took your weekend, but I know you architects like to work in the middle of the night, so it would have been available for you whenever you needed it to, if you had a deadline.
And that's the functionality that I was showing here earlier, right? You close it in one spot, you open it up in another spot, and it is just the same.
Okay.
There's no delay in transfer of files or emails or putting on a cloud or anything. You log in, the file's there for you.
Yep.
So that makes you more efficient too, right?
Absolutely.
Right. You're not downloading, uploading, waiting for things to go on.
I'm not spending Friday afternoons, up and downloading the files for 12 consultants. I'm not forcing 12 consultants with 40 or 50 staff to go into BIM 360 and pay $900 a year for the BIM 360 license. I can invite those folks into my environment, or if the team decides, I can do a hybrid and do one or the other or both, depending on what each project team comes together and can agree on.